From WIS Columbia, the station you count on for local news. This is WIS News 10's News Watch.
Good morning. Welcome to News Watch. If you've been to the doctor recently, you may have noticed that some medical offices, are using a wireless system of keeping records. Some offices have been keeping records electronically for several years, but smaller medical practices in rural areas have yet to catch up with that technology. But that could change. Our guest today is Dr. Hugh Durrence. He is a family doctor from Charleston, and he is coming up to Columbia to talk about this with us. Dr. Durrence, thanks for being here.
Thank you for asking me.
You've been paperless for a number of years, since 1998. You were really ahead of the curve on this. Why did you choose to go wireless back then?
Well, I kind of felt like that was the trend back then when I opened my practice in '98, and actually I was a Medical University of South Carolina graduate and was introduced to EMR in my residency and decided that that was probably the way things were going to go. So when I opened my practice, I started from day one.
So when you were thinking about this, what is the patient benefit for going paperless?
Well, the provider has a benefit. The patients have a benefit because hopefully as we progress down this road, it will be safer for the patients. The physician doesn't have a paper chart where things might get lost. It's much more efficient. All your information is right there on the computer, lab information, test information, previous notes, past medical histories, and it just creates a better flow in the office.
And from what I understand, it takes a lot of the guessing game out of it for doctors in a lot of different ways, because how many times do you prescribe something and not know if it's covered by that person's insurance company?
Precisely. The one aspect of the EMR is e-prescribing, and right now, if you prescribe it, many times you get throwback called, you may have to get a prior approval, it may not be covered. It creates a problem for the patient. They go to the pharmacy, the pharmacist may have to call us, we may have to change the medication. Hopefully with the advent of EMR and with e-prescribing, as the payors and pharmacy benefit managers develop formularies and more of e-prescribing is adopted, we will have that information down at the provider level in our offices in the exam room on a real-time basis, so that we can do it one time and it's done.
Play devil's advocate.
Sure.
You know, doctors look at this and go, it is expensive to change over an office from, you know, all the medical records that are lined up in those colorful folders that everybody's so used to seeing, over to the paperless system. It's expensive to do.
It is. It does have a cost associated with it, but in the new stimulus that has come down from the federal government, there is some reimbursement available to physicians if you meet certain standards and meet what's called meaningful use with your EMR. You can obtain some reimbursement from the federal government to help you with the cost associated with putting in an EMR.
You know, some people feel like, or some doctors that I've spoken with feel like this is just more government, more of the federal government, more of Big Brother kind of looking in on our health care. You know, obviously you don't feel that way since you're paperless, but do you see that point of view?
Absolutely, and I can understand that, but hopefully there's a great advantage in safety for the patient in having immediate drug interactions, in having the information at your fingertips from wherever it's developed. Hopefully with the Health Information Exchange statewide, we'll be able to access test information from wherever a patient goes. Now there are parameters being created to address safety and security as far as the data goes, and that's an ongoing process right now to ensure that there's not free reign of data.
Going back to the money that's in the stimulus that has to do with this, they're giving each state a certain amount of money where doctors can apply to help, you know, offset the cost of going paperless. And from what I understand, they're going to start rolling out that money here. Is that correct?
Exactly, in 2011 is my understanding, with the hope that everyone's converted by 2014.
Okay. And, you know, of course, pharmaceutical companies, they're very interested in this. Would they benefit from this? How do they benefit from this from your point of view?
Well, the pharmaceutical companies are going to put out a lot of good drugs. I think from a provider standpoint, the important thing for us is we've got to hold first and foremost that doctor-patient relationship. And the doctor has to be able to make the decision for his patient in that exam room. And he's going to have to use this EMR as a tool to be able to preserve that relationship. And my hope is that we are developing formularies, if those are developed by the insurers or the pharmacy benefit managers, that we're given the opportunity to do a real-time override if need be, so that we can get the right drug to the patient in the right dose at the right time, and that's not totally influenced from some other area.
Now follow me on this, and I know you're not here representing pharmaceutical companies.
Right.
But you know, doctors right now who are not paperless, you know, when it comes to prescribing a medicine to a patient, you know, there is a lot of guessing in what is covered by their insurance company, so a lot of doctors will just go right down the middle and prescribe a generic. This way, does it allow doctors to look specifically at the medicines that are covered under their insurance companies, and then they can specifically prescribe maybe, you know, medicines that fall under these big pharmaceutical companies?
We hope that the information that is fed down to us as providers is going to be, like I said, real time, that it's unbiased, and that the formularies are provided, because we don't have any idea in a physician setting in a particular insurance plan. There are many insurance plans, and it's very hard to know the formulary. So hopefully we're going to have real-time download of those formularies, so we can look and see what is covered and what's not covered. And hopefully we'll have a way to get an override if we need it. If there's a drug that we feel like the patient needs that's not on formulary, that there will be an electronic prior approval that we can do that's real time as well.
Your practice is in Charleston.
Yes.
You're not a rural practice.
Right.
So these doctors' offices in the rural areas, how are they finding out that they potentially have this money that could help them, you know, go paperless?
It's in a lot of the medical journals now.
Is it?
The state is working on it. There's a whole committee that is working on the health information exchange throughout the state right now. South Carolina's at the forefront of doing this. To the best of my knowledge, they have applied for the grant money. The money's coming from the federal government. So hopefully we'll have a good HIE in the state.
All right, Dr. Hugh Durrence, thanks for making the drive up from Charleston. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.